Welcome into another whole home edition of Sport Ball.
That's right.
Just another day. I'm your boy, Sam. With me, as always, are these two. I don't even know how to describe them. One of them has facial hair, one of them doesn't. It's not who I expected, so it's throwing me off. Seth and Kyle, boys, how we doing?
Happy Halloween, belatedly.
To the listeners,
I think Seth shaved his mutton chops and it's pretty upsetting.
I did.
I was hoping those would stay with us.
You should have really adopted that.
How is everyone feeling after the Halloween weekend?
Feeling good.
Fantastic. Been eating chili all week.
Well, I don't give a shit how you feel. All right, it's down to business. We have a lot to talk about today. That's why I don't give a shit how you feel. We have two sports to cover, and what they are will surprise you. Pickleball,
Curling.
and curling. I feel like we look like guys who would cover curling, don't you?
Do you know that my brother-in-law actually plays curling?
I did know that, yeah.
We should
He
join a league.
curls. He's a curler.
I feel like we might be sneaky really good at it.
Oh, I am.
It's not even sneaky.
Not one bit.
Those are not the sports, though, we'll be discussing today. In fact, it will be the NFL and the NBA. A scintillating
Only two
start.
sports we ever cover.
A scintillating start to the NBA season. I've enjoyed it quite a bit. It's nice to just, instead of talking about Ben Simmons for 6 months straight, we can actually watch real basketball, which is refreshing. So we thought we'd start off with some NBA early season overreactions. And then at the end of the pod, we'll do some NFL midseason review for those of you that want to skip ahead to the NFL. But joke's on you because it'll be curling instead when you get there. So it's been 2 weeks of the NBA, give or take. So it's time to give our strong opinions on how the first part has gone and what we expect to happen the rest of the way. I will start off with my first overreaction. Is everyone ready? I want everyone sitting down. Seth stood up. I don't know what that means for us. My first one isn't as much to do with the actual basketball, even though I just said that's the only thing I enjoy watching. It is that
Ben Simmons.
it is that Zion will be gone from the Pelicans in a matter of a few years, which may not even be that hot of a take.
A few years.
Yeah.
That's lukewarm at best, I'd say, at this point.
Well, here's what's going to happen, in my humble opinion. He's going to sign his extension because of the injuries. He's going to lock down the money. And then 1 to 2 a year after that, he'll ask out like everyone does these days. And it's a dumpster fire over there. They're 1-8. They're the worst team in the league, which you guys have to answer for since they're the 10th seed.
No. I mean, it's not 10 seed is like, yeah, whatever. They might sneak into the 10 seed. Like Kyle and I weren't high on the Pelicans.
No.
We just needed
it was just like there were, the bottom of the barrel West, and we were like, I like their chances better than the other bottom of the barrel teams.
All right, you've answered. So Zion's been out with a foot fracture, as the listeners may know. And it wasn't even, we had no idea he had a foot fracture. Then they come out and say it. Then they say he'll be ready for the season, which we're all like, there's no fucking way he's ready for the season. Yeah. He's been out. He's going to keep being out for several more weeks. And there are rumors that he's ballooned up to over 300 pounds. And also rumors that he just doesn't work hard in the off season, or, isn't very in love with his craft, you might say. So things are looking dicey over there. And, David Griffin hasn't done a lot to keep him there. He hired Stan Van Gundy. He was ass, so he fired him a year later. He let Lonzo Ball go to the Bulls for no reason and replaced him with Devontae Graham, who's ass, and we all know he's ass. And he also got back Satoransky in the deal with the Bulls. He's like, "Ooh, look, we got something back." Satoransky doesn't even play for them, despite them not having any good players. And by the way, he could have had Drew Holiday still.
Yeah.
But he does not. So, yeah, I think he's gone. I don't know. I guess it would have seemed like a pretty hot take the first few years of his career, but it almost seems inevitable now, sadly, doesn't it?
This is his third year too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem like it's been that long.
I think a hot take would be like Zion Williamson will be on the Pelicans for the next 8 years.
That's a hot take.
Yeah. That would be
I guess I just figured anything is an overreaction if you say someone's going to leave their team when they're about to sign a max deal with them.
Yeah. Here's a question for you. If we redid the 2019 NBA draft today, would Zion even be in the top 2?
Ja would definitely go 1.
Our friend Jonathan Morant. And I think
friend of the pod. He's actually sitting over here next to me. He just doesn't talk often.
The contender for second, Tyler Hero.
You wouldn't have said this last season.
No, maybe this wasn't one of my official overreactions, but maybe it could be based on
he's part of one of mine.
What we've seen from the beginning of the year, right? Which a lot of people were kind of saying like preseason, Tyler Hero is going to bounce back, whatever. And I think you could also throw in Darius Garland into that. He's been promising the last couple of years, much more than, well, I don't know. Again, these are overreactions because before the season, like before the injury, even with potential injury concerns, we still thought Zion was like a top 25 player, So I think I'd probably still draft him second in that if we're redoing it. But
yeah, I mean, we almost forget how dominant he was last season, right? He was averaging 27 points per game and like 60% shooting or 65%, whatever it was. So he has a long way to go until he's like that type of player that can single-handedly lead his team to the playoffs. But yeah, you have to love the upside. I think especially if you're a team that has an inkling you can keep him there because you're a bigger market or a more desirable market, you would prefer him, right? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd be very nervous to even have, like, if I was the Pelicans, I'd be nervous to even give him the max, but you have to, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been one of the overarching storylines of the first couple of weeks. Maybe not as basketball related. What do you got, Seth, for what are your overreactions?
All right. I asked you this in a text maybe 2 weeks ago, Sam. So my overreaction is that at the end of this season, we will be convinced that Jaylen Brown is a better player than Jason Tatum.
The spice is in the air. I mean, so far he's been better this year, right?
So Tatum has been awful, to be honest, so far. And I blame Kyle because Kyle told me that he was going to get MVP. I should have known it was just a reverse jinx to fuck over my Celtics.
He has a beautiful mind.
Yeah. He's shooting 38% from the field, not from 3, from the field, and 26% from 3. So I don't know. All I do is talk on a podcast, but I don't think that's very good. And perhaps
that's all you do?
Yeah. Most of the time you guys aren't here, but most concerningly, he's not even getting to 3 assists a game. And I think the big thing that we were waiting for with the Tatum leap was for his playmaking ability to improve, right? And we saw just this week, there was a bit of a scuffle after one of the Celtics losses where Marcus Smart essentially was calling out both Tatum and Brown for not passing. And obviously we can litigate like whether that was an appropriate thing for Marcus to say in public and, to what extent is that real and all that. But I think Tatum has not looked like at all anything of a better playmaker. And now he's not even scoring efficiently. I mean, he's never even been that efficient, but he was decently efficient and would put up the numbers and would make difficult shots. He was a good one-on-one scorer. And now he just looks like a high volume scorer who's like, he's like a DeMar DeRozan type, but not even as good as he is now.
I was gonna
Like,
say,
DeMar DeRozan on the Raptors when he was just shooting mid-range shots
Yeah.
and like hitting 40% of them.
yeah,
He's doing that
So
right now. So I think he might be hitting like 60% of them now.
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
He's hitting threes though.
You'll have your time to talk about the Bulls, Kyle. I know it's one of your overreactions that they're going to win the championship.
And then you compare that to Jalen, who's shooting 50% from the field and 39% from three. And so I would like to see his playmaking improve as well, but at least he's scoring. And I think defense there comparable. Brown's a little bit quicker. So that's my hot take.
What say you on the matter?
We're 7 games in. Obviously, this is overreactions after 2 weeks into the season, but you know, I'm not too concerned about the overreaction that Seth has brought to us. I still think the Celtics are going to be okay. Thankfully, they got Al Horford to lock them down. Really, you know, he's been doing great for them. But
Al's been the one bright spot, huh?
honestly, yeah. The scariest thing about them is just their overall team defense being essentially the worst scoring defense in the league. So,
Seth, how have you felt about Ime Udoka so far? Speaking of that poor defense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really feel like I can evaluate him at this point. I think the only concerning thing, right, is what I mentioned about Smart calling out his teammates, and like that's the type of thing that you would expect to be resolved by the head coach, and that he can manage those personalities and get everybody on the same page, working towards common goal. So, but I mean, I don't blame him right now for anything that's been bad in their season. I think he deserves a chance to cut his teeth, as they say, as an NBA head coach. So TBD.
So there was also a report that the Celtics held an emotional players only meeting to deal with this disgruntlement. And then they managed to beat Orlando. So that
do we get a trophy
nice.
or
a nice medicine? I think they just need to trade Marcus Smart. I think they just need a real point guard.
Yeah,
who can play
I think
for others.
don't they have
I
Dennis
never thought
Schroeder?
I would say this. Yeah, Dennis has been asked as well.
Dennis
Speaking
is
of
terrible.
inefficient players who shoot mid range and don't
Dennis
pass.
the Menace, baby.
He has been a menace for the Celtics fans.
Can you imagine if you had like Ricky Rubio? How much better you'd be?
Yeah,
Ricky Rubio has been asked this year too, hasn't he?
I mean, he can pass the
but
ball.
that type of player. At least.
Yeah.
Imagine you send Marcus Smart and a litany of picks for Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Oh my God. That'd
God,
be rock
that
hard.
would be. I am just wet thinking about that.
That would be good.
Excuse me, I have to excuse myself. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Marcus Smart is like he should be playing like the Alex Caruso role in on a good team, right? He shouldn't be your point guard, your only point guard, starting at point guard, and is supposed to be playmaking for others, especially when your wings can't playmake, right? So, it goes back to that 2 wings thing that we discussed, right? If your 2 superstars, neither of them are really playmakers, kind of like the Paul George, Kawhi Leonard issue that we talked about before. I wonder how long that can sustain, right? Do you think there's any, I guess, do you fear that these 2 are going to break up maybe after this season or going forward? Or do you even want that?
No, I don't want it. I don't have a big fear of that. At least in the short term. I could see it one day, but
Seth has been wanting Bradley
break
Beal to come rejoin Tatum for how long? And what sweet, I can't think of the word as I usually can't.
Irony?
Sure. It'll be once Tatum leaves to go to Washington to join up with his old friend.
Well, yeah,
All right, let's move
Yeah.
on for the Celtics
that's
because
fine.
they're playing right now. So maybe they'll just beat the Heat and they'll look great. Kyle, what's your first overreaction?
That the Heat are going to finish first in the East.
Welcome.
I know. I was wrong. I said it again. It's becoming a common occurrence these days.
My God.
Fatherhood really, does that to you.
I told you
Humbling.
guys I was gonna bet on them to come out of the East before the season. I mean, I didn't, of course, but it's good that you came around.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Butler is obviously 2 weeks in, having a career year so far. He's averaging career highs in points per games, rebounds, steals, field goal percentage, and true shooting percentage. We all scoffed at the fact that Tyler Hero said he should be talked about in the same vein as Luka and Trey. So far into the season, all three players are averaging between 22 and 23 points per game. Tyler Hero has the higher field goal percentage and the higher 3-point percentage right now.
Okay, but Hero's not
All
even
doing
starting
this
for
coming
his
off-
team.
I understand. That's what I mean. He's doing this by coming off the bench. He has 4 25-point games off the bench. The rest of the NBA has a total of 6 25-point games off the bench. 25-point scores off the bench.
Sounds like he's gonna beat out Alex Caruso for 6th man of the year. Looking forward to
Caruso's
getting that
starting,
dollar.
so
There's a chance. There's a chance, but yeah, with the Patrick injury,
Caruso's
Caruso's
can't-
not starting actually.
Oh yeah, that's true. But he can't win MVP and 6th man of the year, so that'll stop.
Yeah, that's almost unheard of, right?
Almost.
Unheard of.
So
yeah, they've looked great so far.
yeah, obviously when I made my claims of them being, did I say they were a play-in? No, they were just above a play-in team. I wasn't expecting Hero to look like Tyler Hero his freshman year in the league. Especially, what was that? Was that during the bubble that he had a crazy run? Obviously we knew Lowry was going to do what Lowry does. He's kind of just a better
Dragic.
Exactly.
I feel like
How's this
Lowry's
happening?
almost like challenging himself to see how good he can play without scoring any points.
It does feel that way. Yeah.
And he's doing great at that. So
Right. So, yeah, I mean, they're doing all this without Oladipo as well.
yeah,
So that just provides an extra person of depth.
Forgot
them.
about Oladipo.
Right.
Wow.
Exactly.
yeah. I have to go make a call actually. Yeah, I think to me, and I kind of had an inkling of this before the season, but this is kind of solidified to me now that the Heat, the Nets, and the Bucks come playoff time to me are in a tier of their own in the East. And
You
one
forgot
of those teams won't make the Eastern Conference Finals. So we'll see how that pans out. But I think I see those three as head and shoulders above the rest of the East. You guys agree with that?
I would probably have the Bulls in that conversation.
I'm
Outrageous.
surprised. Is he waiting for a second overreaction to say the Bulls are going to win another 6 championships?
Best start since their last 3 championship run. So
What could it mean?
There was some stat too that was like Caruso was the last Bulls player since Michael Jordan to do something, and I was like, all right. I think it was like get a steal in every game or something. All right, yeah. So I like what the Heat are doing so far. I think it will be a problem come playoff time. Can I give my second overreaction?
I'll allow it.
The Warriors are gonna make the finals.
oh my God, that was mine.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, we can tag team it then. This team is first in defensive rating right now. And they were a good defensive team last year, but they're even better so far this year. Their bench is just so much better this year, which was one that was the big problem last year, was like when Steph had an off game or when he was on the bench, they were absolutely atrocious. Not
Right.
a middle school level team. Now they have Iggy at the prime of his post prime. They have Jordan Poole, who is starting now, but will come off the bench later. They have Gary Payton II, aka the Mitten, who like gets to
Incredible.
steal every
Is
minute.
that an adopted nickname? I feel
Yeah,
like I
his
haven't heard
nickname's the
that.
Mitten. Yeah, he like I know what his stats are, but it's crazy when you watch it. Like he gets a steal every like 3 possessions.
Yeah, he was on another level last night watching.
Yeah, and last night was a
Even at
great
a
example,
posterizing
right?
dunk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
last night was a great example of this bench, right? Because Steph didn't have a good game. He had 5 points up until like late third. He ended up with 15, and they still beat the Hornets, who are a good team, right? That's not something they would have done last year. I can pretty much guarantee that.
For sure.
So, if our favorite boy Clay comes back at like 80% even, I think they have a real shot.
I mean,
Yep.
They don't even have to worry about Oubre or Wiseman right now, which was their 2 biggest problems last year. So, I mean, we really should have expected them to be a lot better. I think I was probably highest on them when we ranked them for the playoffs at least, but they definitely are exceeding expectations. And that's why I also had them as winning the West and making the finals.
Yeah, I think we all had them like something like 5 to 8 or something, but I think they're even better than that. I forgot about the Kelly Oubre corollary. Thank you. Which is that your team gets bumped 10 wins when you don't have to be distracted by his beautiful eyes.
I mean, did you even mention that they have the best defensive rating in all of the league right now?
I did. That's the first thing I said, actually.
Okay, good. I wasn't listening.
Yeah.
Steph has the best defensive rating of any guard in the league, just by himself. Wow. Yeah.
Sam,
Outrageous.
did you mention how their bench is better than it was last year?
No.
The one person I don't think you did mention, though, about the bench, our good boy Otto Porter. Big come up for them.
Otto Porter and Bielitsa have been contributors in a way I wasn't expecting.
For them.
Yeah.
So far,
go ahead.
I was going to say Otto Porter and Steph Curry together, an unstoppable force, it seems. 60 minutes on the court together, a 26.5 net rating between when they're both on the court.
Was that like 1 minute a game?
1 minute a game. It's at least 10, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, apparently anyone but Kelly Oubre has a huge on-off with stuff. What do you think, Seth? You like that? Like Warriors come out of the West?
Yeah, I thought about saying that as well. And I would love it to happen. So I'm down.
I mean, who else, right? Like, I mean, obviously any of the other 15 teams in the West, but like the Lakers, this team is constructed right now in Los Angeles is not a championship team. Is that one of your overreactions?
This one of my overreactions does involve the Lakers, so
go
good
ahead.
Segue.
Take it away.
Unknowingly.
I knew.
Russell Westbrook.
What the Westbrook?
Will not be on the team come playoff time.
I kind of feel that way too.
Send him back to OKC for Shea, baby.
What if they just still make the Buddy Hield trade? That's probably still on the table, right?
You think it is? I don't think.
I mean, obviously not with the same players.
They can't trade Kuzma.
Yeah.
How would Russ even fit on that team when you already have Halliburton and?
It's the Kings. They don't care.
I guess that's true. They did draft.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is going to be.
Yeah.
But to be honest, his stats have still been okay. He's like, I know this because on my fantasy team, so he's at like 29-8 or something. But yeah, I think I've heard on some other podcasts too about like it reminds people of LeBron's last year with the Cavs and how when he had like D-Wade and some other random players and then traded them all and got Larry Nance and Jordan Clarkson and that whole crew.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it's going to be, where he's going to go. And I still think it's like underrated, like unlikely to happen, but I can see it.
I mean,
yeah, it's got to change. This team has to change by playoff time.
I mean, I think we kind of all didn't really like the fit of what Russell Westbrook on this team anyways.
No.
It sounds like LeBron did have a one-on-one meeting with Dame over the offseason, and Dame kind of told him that, I'm sticking with Portland. Portland's my home, but Portland doesn't look the best. Dame's off to a rocky start.
Yep.
People's minds change. That would be nice to see come playoff time.
The thing
I would hate that.
I feel like either Russell's going to move or like half their team is going to move because this is not fitting. Also, I see here that LeBron is going to miss a week with an abdominal strain.
It's already begun.
Let Russ cook in the meantime.
Yeah.
Like that is the one helpful thing, right? Like with LeBron out, they can at least not be the 7th seed like they were last year, probably. But come playoff time, I just don't see
that Carmelo keeps shooting 50+% from the 3-point line, right?
The Carmelo Sans is upon us.
Yeah, get the hell out of here.
And I think it would kind of be smart to like play most of the regular season with Russ to spell them for those games that LeBron can't play, and then be like, all right, let's get rid of this guy, because he just doesn't allow them to maximize their best lineup for the playoffs. Like, I feel like what you could get, even if it was Buddy Hield, would make their best lineup better, right? Buddy Hield doesn't have the ability to take over the offense when LeBron is sitting. But if you have those 3 out there at the end of a playoff game, I'd rather have that than Russ, So
yeah, it's like during the regular season, I love having Russ run the offense when LeBron is sitting. But in the playoffs, I don't want Russ running the offense at all. I want LeBron running it for 42 minutes. So how's that going to manifest itself? It's almost as if we all knew this coming into the season.
We did.
All right.
Only we ran an NBA team. I say it all the time.
You ain't lying. All right, give me your overreaction. Your second one, Kyle.
You had mine. It was the Warriors to win the West.
I have a few honorable mentions I'm going to throw out at you then. Are you ready?
Typical.
You can't respond at all. All right. Number 1, Miles Bridges will make an all-star team. All right. 24, 8-3. 3 stocks, 56, 37, 87. Shooting 8 threes a game this year. You can't respond.
Borrego ruins him.
He responded already. He broke protocol. Number 2, this new ball.
Oh,
it's going to take a year for shooters to get used to it.
Yeah.
Shooting is down across the league. And that's probably a combination of the new foul rules too, right?
Well, but was it Paul George that made a comment about the ball? Like it.
Yeah, some star
obviously
did.
He was like, it's not we're not using it as an excuse, but it's 100% a different feel than what we've been playing with for how many years?
It's like when they play FIBA and they're like, what the hell is this? All right. James Harden is average with the new foul rules. I just said that when to piss Kyle off. I'm kidding. He'll adjust. All right. Last one. Luka's Mavs team is worse than Slovenia.
Agreed.
Again, I thought this was supposed to be hot takes.
It's so fucking bad, dude. Holy shit.
Straight up truths.
I feel so bad for Luka.
Can I toss an honorable mention in there?
Yeah, please.
Ja Morant to win the scoring title.
I had Ja Morant as the best point guard in the league in my honorable mentions, so I thought that was too hot for this room.
I don't know if that's hot enough. Well, it is too hot considering Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is sitting on a 1-6 team and is continually triple teamed when he's on the court. So,
and I guess Steph is a point guard technically, but what has he done lately? His brother's better than him. All right, you guys want to switch over to the NFL quick here?
Yeah,
Please God, yes.
All right, so listeners, this is when the curling section is. If you're skipping ahead, mid-season, kind of. I mean, there's 17 weeks now, but 18 really, right? So we are exactly in the mid-season because it's NFL Week 9, 17 games, 18 weeks. You guys with me?
Right.
They both left the room. It's just me alone. I want to hit the AFC first because there's a lot of interesting things going on. Namely, first of all, what is up with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? Okay. I know I don't want to get all talking head here Monday morning, Sports Center or whatever, but
good thing it's Thursday evening and our heads are attached to our body, and
speak for yourself.
Mike White is better than Patrick Mahomes.
So at the beginning of the season, the Chiefs were kind of struggling, but their offense was still elite. This last month, offense has been terrible. 3 points against the Titans. Barely beat the Giants 20-17. So what's going on here?
They don't have Sammy Watkins.
That's true. They do not.
So by that, Sammy's gone. So I think Mecole Hardman has kind of stepped into that secondary wide receiver role. And we all know, or at least assumed, him to essentially just be a Tyreek Hill light player.
Mm-hmm.
Just burn the defense and just run downfield and Mahomes will get it to you. So they don't really have anyone to really complement the middle of the field besides, Travis Kelce. But I think having multiple players that could play underneath, get to the sidelines in the intermediary part of the field really help them to open up, more deep shots downfield. That and their, Clyde Edwards-Helaire isn't what everyone expected. So their running game is really not that great either.
Yeah. And Kelce, it should be said.
Yeah.
Hasn't been as elite as we might have expected so far. Seth, what say you?
I don't know the answer. I can only say what I've seen, which is just completely uncharacteristic of themselves. It'd be one thing if it was like just the defense is bad and they're losing, or the offensive line is terrible and Mahomes just like doesn't have enough time. But I don't feel like those are the only problems. Like drop passes, just not as creative plays aren't really working like they used to. So I don't know. I mean, I always lean towards someone with the skills of Mahomes and Hill and Kelce that they'll just figure it out. But I thought that would happen the last 2 weeks and it didn't. So
will they miss the playoffs?
No.
Kyle?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
I think he thought I just asked him if he wanted a new NFT. All right, here's who's in the playoffs right now in the AFC. Titans 1 seed, Sans Derrick Henry. Raiders 2 seed, Ravens 3 seed, Bills are the 4 seed, Bengals 5 seed, Steelers 6 seed, Chargers 7 seed. Chiefs and Patriots, Browns and Broncos all at 4-4 in the hunt.
But only you said Chiefs, Broncos, Browns, Patriots. 2 of those 4 could make it, right?
Anyone could make it.
Assuming the top 5 that you listed stay.
Oh,
you
assuming
listed
the top 5
before that, right?
Yeah, 2 of the Patriots,
Yeah,
Chiefs, Browns, and Broncos. But a lot of them could win their division and move up to the top 5. So it's very wide open. Very wide open. The thing is, they have to jump 2 people in their own division too.
Yeah.
You got to think they can get it done, though, right?
I believe it till I see it.
I was telling Seth
all
this
season.
I was telling Seth this the other day, but it's like this always happens when you lose the Super Bowl, and we forgot to factor it in. Like, not necessarily that you miss the playoffs, but there does seem to be a Super Bowl loss hangover, right, the next year, and the team does not do as well as you might expect. So maybe some of this was expected. Looks like perhaps Odell Beckham's gone from the Browns. Have you seen what's going on there? He was
Junior.
excused from practice the last couple of days after. Yeah, his father made an Instagram post about all the wide open plays that they were missing him on. Gotta say, did not make Baker look good either. So it seems like he may have played his last game for the Browns.
It does certainly seem that way. And I saw LeBron like commented on the tweet as well. Noted Browns fan. It's one of those things where I think we were just overrating Odell, right? He just isn't as good as we thought he was. And he wants people to still consider him like as good as we thought. And so now like there's all this drama and he's trying to blame it on the Browns organization when in reality he's maybe just not as good.
Yeah. Counterpoint. Baker is ass.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, it's probably a little bit of both, right? Baker's obviously not an elite quarterback. OBJ is probably better than he showed with the Browns and not as good as he showed with the Giants anymore.
I mean,
I honestly feel like
late career Eli Manning was all that incredible.
Probably still better than Baker, though. I feel like it doesn't even matter for the Browns if he's gone or not.
No.
They were better without him last year. Where do you fall on all this, Kyle?
Yeah. It's they're dealing with excuse me, a lot of injuries in one, right? They don't have that 1-2 punch anymore. Kareem Hunt's out. I think we all, when he came into the league, had extremely high expectations for Baker Mayfield, obviously winning the Heisman in college, and then expecting him to be that same player. But I think he's kind of shown himself more as a game manager than a game changer, which
that's
is
a great
kind
way
of
to put it.
what we expected him to be. And it's just tough when you don't have super elite talent to throw the ball to, which is, I kind of feel like, Jarvis is a great, beta receiver. Like, he's not meant to be the alpha on a team.
I thought you were going to say Butler name after Jarvis is a great, but
that's true too. And then Odell, was supposed to be that alpha player, but I feel like those injuries early in his career kind of just destroyed the trajectory that we kind of expected him to have. And you put all these, different pieces in a pot and stir it up, you don't get an absolutely elite team on both sides of the ball.
Or a well-tasting stew. You don't get that either. Final AFC question. Who should I consider to be the favorite in the AFC?
AFC?
Bills.
Bills, hands down.
It's got to be at this point, right? Everyone. I think the Ravens have made a little bit of a push to be considered in that, but I don't trust anyone else in the AFC besides those two.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, with some of the most devastating news in my life, sports-wise, Derrick Henry, his injury just throws a giant wrench into any of the plans for the Titans.
Yeah,
even though running backs don't matter.
He's like only one of them that does. Besides, there's a few, right? But
yeah, so
he's one of them.
Bound to happen. He's gone how many years without sustaining like any injury to keep him sidelined?
Yeah, Seth, why do you see this coming?
No, I'm just saying, like,
this is on my team.
I feel like the way he's been drafted every year, which, right, you can't expect injuries, but there's always talk of him not being worth a first round pick because he doesn't catch the ball. He's not really used as a receiver. He just gets an outrageous amount of carries. And obviously he's one of, if not the best running back in terms of creating yards after contact. But at some point, right? How
Yeah, I
many
mean, they
players go through their career without having a somewhat serious injury?
they talked about this on our favorite fantasy focus podcast, and they asked Stefania, injury expert, could this injury be related to all of the carries that he's had, in his career? And she was kind of like, yeah, could be, but also maybe not. So
Well, yeah,
I mean, it can't help.
I'm not necessarily chalking it up to how many times
Yeah.
he's touched the ball. Just, the sheer amount of time that he spends on the field to
right, bound to
take
get
those
injured
hits.
at some point. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I think it's really Bills, Ravens second, and then a real crapshoot after that in the AFC. Meanwhile, in the NFC, moving over to that side real quick, I feel like there's this top tier that has separated themselves completely from the rest of the NFC, right? You have the Packers, you have the Cowboys. This is in no particular order. The Packers, the Cowboys, the Bucks, the Rams. And I think we have to consider the Cardinals in that group now.
You just put them in there.
And then after that, like any one of those could make the Super Bowl, and I would not be surprised. And then after that, I think maybe the Saints have entrenched themselves as the 6th seed, at least for now, because they're 5-2. Nobody else in the NFC is over 4-4. So my question to you is, after we take those contenders and the Saints entrenched in 6, who else is going to make the playoffs and get that last seed in the NFC? I mean, let me list our contenders who are, you're not going to love any of them. Are you ready? The Panthers, the Vikings, the Niners, 3-4 and losing half their players. The Falcons, who I said were going to make the playoffs before the year, and then immediately after said they weren't. The Eagles are 3-5. The Seahawks are 3-5, perhaps getting Russ back. The Bears, who as a Bears fan, I can tell you are ass. So you like any of those?
Did you say the Saints?
I said they're already entrenched in the 6th seed. I'm trying to find the last one.
Oh.
I
think they're entrenched in the 6th seed halfway through the season with just
for
one
now.
game.
I mean, they're
on
2
the
games
7th seed.
ahead. Yeah.
I mean,
do you think 2 of those teams I mentioned are going to make it? Because that would be.
I can't wait for the Vikings to make it, just to really piss Seth off by a terrible Kirk performance in the playoffs.
That would piss me off.
Could Kirk
He's fuming
himself
thinking about it.
manage a double doink in a playoff game? It can't be ruled out.
Oh my God. Do you think my hatred for Kirk has gotten even higher somehow in the last week when we thought it couldn't?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was the multiple checkdowns to Tyler Conklin with
30
no timeouts and 45 seconds left to get in the field goal range.
39, 20 seconds left in the game, no timeouts. 4-yard check down to Tyler Conklin inbounds. Holy
That was
shit.
his second one too. Back-to-back plays.
Easily got outplayed by Cooper Rush.
Yeah. I texted Sam Kirk Cousins and 5 first-round picks for Cooper Rush. Who says no?
Do you think Matt knows that we're recording a podcast and talking about football right now?
Why?
He just put in our chat.
Oh. Yeah.
All of my starting receivers are on a bye this week, and my top 2 running backs are injured. Bet I still whip Seth's ass, though.
Not a chance.
Those listeners that might not know, Matt is our number 1 listener. I think they all know that at this point.
Yeah.
You're basically saying to Matt,
Matt, if you don't know, you're a number one
our
listener. Okay, so can I pick a team since no one said anything about the team we just chatted, the Vikings?
Seattle.
I was going to take Seattle as well because it seems like Russ is going to come back pretty soon. He got the pins out already from his thumb, and he's going to work very hard to get back. He's like the anti-Zion Williamson. And they're still 3-5 within striking distance. I don't know. I like them the most out of any of these teams, I think. Kyle, I know you disagree with us. You can't pick Pete Carroll.
No, certainly not. I still want to like the 49ers. I don't think I just don't. It's confusing, right? Jimmy looked pretty good this past week, but at a moment's notice, he could look terrible again. And we see Trey Lance come in and be the dual threat quarterback we know he is. So I think I'm going to stick with the 49ers over the Seahawks, but
I mean, the reality is we're not going to love the 7th seed, right? I mean, the
I will.
Bears made
we're not
the
going to love
7th
the
seed.
6th seed.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears made the playoffs last year because of the 7th seed.
I'll
So
pick
we're not
Seattle
going
in the
to
first round.
think of them as a good team, whoever makes it. And they're going to probably lose unless they're Seattle, and then Seth will pick them and they'll still lose. Any final NFL thoughts to sprinkle in, boys? Any burning things you want to say?
Halfway through the season, are you keeping the same Super Bowl teams? Or if you could repick right now, who are you taking?
Absolutely
I think the
fucking not.
Chiefs, I think.
Yeah, I picked the Chiefs and the Rams. Give me Bills, Rams.
Yeah. I'm going
Seattle.
I'm going
Get
Bills
the fuck
Cardinals.
Wow. What did you go at the beginning of the season? Do you remember?
Rams.
I think
Chiefs.
you went Bills, Rams, didn't you?
Did I go Bills, Rams?
Might as
Or
well
did I
just keep
go
that.
Rams, Chiefs? I think I
I
did
don't
go
think you
Bills,
went
actually.
Chiefs.
Sam did
You're
Rams,
right.
Chiefs, yeah.
Our
I did
thousands
go
of
Bills.
listeners can tweet at us and tell us what we picked.
I don't want to have to pick the Cardinals, but I have to pick the Cardinals after the start.
Yeah.
All that matters
think
is
I would be extremely comfortable leaving my preseason prediction, though.
I think it's going to be Bills, Packers, sadly.
Hmm.
I think the Packers
I
are
mean-
the best team. Although,
What the
Yeah,
hell
I mean-
happens, though, with this whole Aaron Rodgers situation?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wonder if they get punished. But if they get punished, they'll probably like take away draft picks and stuff, right?
Yeah, you would think so.
What a weird situation.
very strange.
Never liked him anyways.
Well, obviously we don't like him. He is a Packers player. But I never liked him.
Of course.
All right. Well, Seth has other things to do because he's better than us. He has to record another
Correct.
podcast where he talks by himself into the void. So we'll sign off for now. Kyle, send our listeners off with a little nugget to go home with.
Tyler Hero will win 6th man of the year.
I already bet on that.
Alex Cruz will win.
Not in the Heat, though.